There are sentences that never leave you. Words that cut so deep, you can still hear them years later as clearly as the day they were spoken. For me, it was a single line from the woman I thought I'd spend my life with. She smiled, not kindly, not warmly, but with that sharp edge of superiority, and said, "Only weak men need attention." I stood there frozen. At first, I thought I had misheard her. But no, she meant it. She had looked me dead in the eyes, smiled as though she had won some kind of twisted game, and declared that my desire to feel seen, valued, loved was nothing but weakness. It wasn't about needing praise or flattery, or constant validation. It was about wanting to be acknowledged by the person who promised to stand beside me, to be noticed when I walked into the room, to feel like I wasn't just furniture in her life, collecting dust in the corner. But to her, that was pathetic. I didn't argue back. I didn't shout. I didn't throw her words in her face like daggers, even though part of me wanted to. Instead, I stayed quiet, letting the silence sit between us like a storm waiting to break. She thought she had silenced me with that smile, with that line, but she had no idea what those words had just set in motion. Because for years, I had been clinging on, holding on to the scraps of affection she occasionally threw my way, convincing myself that maybe one day, things would change. That maybe one day, she'd turn around and remember who I was to her. But that night, with those 7 cruel words, something inside me finally snapped. The shift didn't happen with fireworks or slammed doors. It was quieter than that, like a lock clicking open after years of being jammed. The next morning, I didn't wait for her to ask me what was wrong. She never would have. Instead, I poured my own coffee, grabbed my bag, and left for work without saying goodbye. It was small, but it was the first step. At work, people noticed me. My coworkers said good morning. My boss thanked me for staying late the night before. The trainer in the office next to mine asked if I wanted to join for lunch. None of it was romantic, none of it was dramatic, but it reminded me of something important. I existed. And I wasn't weak for wanting to be acknowledged. I was human. For the first time in years, I didn't rush home. I stayed out, went for a walk after work, even sat alone at a little cafe with a book. It felt strange at first, sitting there without checking my phone every few minutes to see if she had texted. Of course she hadn't. She never did. When I finally walked through the door, she didn't even look up from her phone. "You're late," she muttered, like I had broken some unspoken rule. I shrugged. Yeah, I had plans. Those 4 words seemed to shake her. She blinked, looked up for the first time all evening, and studied me like I was a stranger. Maybe in that moment I was. The man who used to orbit around her had disappeared, and in his place was someone she didn't recognize. For years, I thought leaving her would be impossible. But now, walking away didn't feel like a loss. It felt like freedom inching closer with every step. It didn't take long for her to notice. The more I pulled back, the more unsettled she became. The woman who once dismissed me with a smirk suddenly wanted to know where I was going, who I was with, why I wasn't sitting on the couch waiting for her anymore. But the difference was, I didn't know her answers. Not anymore. I started hitting the gym again, not to impress her, not to win her back, but because I wanted to feel strong in my own skin. I reconnected with old friends, the ones I had pushed aside every time she made me believe that my time belonged only to her. And slowly, piece by piece, I rebuilt myself from the inside out. She tried to test me with little jabs. "Oh, you think you're too good for me now?" Or, "Who's giving you all this attention?" But I didn't take the bait. I just smiled and kept walking. One night, she finally broke. "Why are you acting like this?" she demanded. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't feel the sting of her words. I felt clarity. "You once told me only weak men need attention," I said quietly. "But the truth is, strong men know when to stop begging for it. Strong men know when to walk away." Her face drained of color. For once, she had no clever retort, no smug smile. She just stared at me, realizing that the man she had taken for granted was no longer standing there. That night, I packed a bag. Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with peace. Because strength isn't in proving your worth to someone blind to it. Strength is in choosing yourself when they refuse to. And as I closed the door behind me, I realized something. She was wrong. It's not weak to want love, to want to be seen. What's weak is settling for a life where you're invisible. Walking away wasn't the end of my story. It was the first page of finally living.